on 3 out of 4 downs, and then we get a quarterback who's got a cannon for an arm to try and throw on 4th down every time.
Well, hello and welcome to Pixel Pints, because we throw on 4th down all the time.
Yeah. That's it, the trials and tribulations of being a sports ball fan. Hello, we are Pixel Pints. We are the only global podcast that talks about 2 things that we enjoy, which are good beer and video games. We're not here to promote merchandise from the video game company that we work at, not for. And if you do have any video game merchandise from a video game company that you work at, not for, please use it responsibly. I don't know, don't go just flog it all on eBay. I suppose you could do that if you're short cash.
If I got it for free, I cannot. That's not. Yeah. If I get like something free from the studio, I can't sell it.
How would they know?
They say they always know, so just don't do it. Just don't do it. Plus,
I'm just they hiring Sony ponies these days or something.
Well, they just buy all the stuff they see on eBay. And what they've secretly done is either microchipped it or in invisible ink written the people's names in the items. So when they get them back, they flash the black light over it. Oh, Mitch has been selling his free T-shirts again, the bastard.
The bastard.
Yes. What else? We're not here to promote drinking. Please drink responsibly. Any beers or brews we're talking about aren't sponsoring us, but I am drinking responsibly because I've got low alcohol at the moment. School night, being good, responsible. Remember.
Yeah, it's been a while since I heard the word school night. Also, I keep forgetting Sunday is considered a school night. Damn it.
Yeah. Sunday isn't just about football. Liam, how are things with you? It's been a while.
Yeah, I haven't been on for a while. I was sick last week. I wanted to be on then. I've just been busy with family and work and all sorts. So glad to finally be on.
Have you played Starfield?
I've played it for about between 4 and 6 hours, and
okay,
I had to stop because it made me sick.
What, physically nauseating, or just?
Well, every time I'm reminded of Todd Howard's existence, I want to throw up. No, the game just made me sick.
Every loading screen just made me think. You told us that this would work seamlessly with the power of the Xbox Series X.
I am looking forward to playing it at some point, but I must admit, my enthusiasm has gone down substantially since it came out.
Well, I said on last week that it was a solid 7 out of 10 until, and yeah, I'll get onto that. Mitch, how are things in La La Land?
La La Land's good. Since I finished Spider-Man, I had a lot more time on my hands. So I tried a new anime yesterday. Really good. Holy cow, I binged the whole thing. Blue-Eyed Samurai on Netflix.
I didn't even realize that was out.
Beautiful art style. Holy cow, it is very unique. I really, really liked it.
Can something be very unique?
I think with the art style in anime, there's still a lot of wiggle room for art style. And the crazy part is most of the time, most animes you could be like, I've seen it before. I've seen it before. And then you see like something like Arcane, you're like, okay, that's unique. Or in this case, we'll probably say, yeah, this looks unique. The animation combined with the art is definitely something you've never seen. You could say it's something close to, but not this clear. It's very clean. It's very clean style. I really like it.
I look forward to Liam saying that it looks unique because I will never watch it.
I also like the premises based off of the person's half white, half Japanese, and it was a time when white people were basically not allowed to be in Japan back then. So they're considered a demon, and that's why they're called a blue-eyed demon. So it's really interesting, like playing with that time period when basically if you weren't Japanese, basically if you weren't Japanese, you were considered a demon, which is actually kind of fascinating in that time period to see like how that. And there's other things I don't want to spoil it because it's really good. I did that, and then I still had enough time to finish Arcane finally. It took me a while. It did not start good, the Arcane show for me. I actually did not like it at all for probably the first 4 to 5 episodes. And then I didn't know where it was going, and it really didn't make sense. And then it wasn't until the last 2 episodes that it finally started to go somewhere. And I'm happy where it was going. I was surprised by the cliffhanger. I thought it would create some resolution. So I was like, is this show's gonna end pretty soon, right? Like, what? There's no resolution. Like, what's going on here? But I really, really like Jinx. I like Jinx as a character. I love the psychological trauma and just how they're visually playing with that character. To be honest, that's probably the most interesting thing about the whole thing. Besides that, the rest is kind of blah. But yeah, I mean, the art style.
Anybody agreeing with me?
The art style's pretty, but
the
rest of it's average. It's really average, to be honest. Like, it's great that they have a cool like romance of 2 female characters. I think it's well done, but you know, besides that, what does that person bring to the table? Nothing much. Like, I don't. So I don't know. It was. I think Jinx is the most interesting one, and honestly, probably should have focused a little more on Jinx and maybe the political intrigue on the outside, instead of focusing on a bunch of other characters that honestly I didn't care about in the end. So
Cyberpunk Edge Runners better.
I watched the first 2 episodes of Edge Runners, and I thought, okay, as far as me and anime go, this isn't bad. And then I think it was about 4 minutes into episode 3, and it's like, no, this is just the same tropey bullshit in every single fucking anime program ever made. Thank you very much. I'm turning off now.
Yeah. So that's it for me. I bought a shelf finally. God forbid. I've been here in LA for almost 4 years now, and I don't have a shelf for any of my video games. So they're stuffed in a closet right now, and they're in a box underneath here. And I was like, oh, I maybe want to play some old games. And I was like, I'm struggling to pull out my old games, guys. So I was like, I need a shelf. So I bought a shelf. So it'll come in today and build it and see how many games I have, and if I have to buy another shelf, probably. But anyway, how you doing, Keith?
I'm okay. Since we're talking TV shows, I've watched. We finished watching Bosch Legacy season 3 yesterday. That is such a good show. Brilliantly written, really interesting characters. A proper linking, overarching story that goes somewhere each episode. I'm a bit disappointed that when it changed from Bosch and Amazon Production Studios, or Amazon Studios let it go to another company, they dropped some of the more interesting characters from the original series. But I do like where they're going with it. And the other thing that I finished off watching was Loki season 2.
I can't watch Loki. I heard all about it. Sounds like useless garbage to me.
3 episodes behind, I think.
Okay, what I would say is the first episode and the last episode are by far the best thing that Marvel Studios has done in terms of TV since WandaVision. I did not like Loki season 1 particularly. I thought it was pretty dull, if I'm honest, which I am. It was pretty
very
dull.
Uninteresting.
It felt like
such an interesting concept.
It felt like filler. Is that we've made this TV show because we've got other stuff coming out, and we need to explain to people what's happened in between times, because we don't feel that we've got the writing capability to be able to do that just from our films. So here's a TV show. Do you remember that guy? Yeah, he was one of the famous ones. He's in it. Please watch. Whereas the first episode of Loki season 2, I thought was quite brilliant, and so was the last one. Everything else was a bit in between, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey type stuff. They could probably cut an episode out and no one would have minded or noticed. But yes, so I was moderately pleased with that. I was more pleased the fact that I didn't come away from it thinking it's just another TV show that they've done to fill in gaps between stuff for no other reason. Whereas since WandaVision, this is the best thing that Marvel Studios have done for their TV shows. I still think WandaVision's better, and I'm really disappointed in the way that Marvel were making their content at the time, because there's a bit of a disconnect between WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness that they could have quite easily, if they'd allowed the directors and producers to talk to one another.
Oh no, they didn't allow. It's not that they didn't allow it; it's that they didn't care to.
No, they were under instruction not to talk about it. They're so secretive.
Oh, what? Right. I didn't read that. I just read that the director chose to not talk at all. Wanted to talk to. No,
they are under instructions not to talk to one another about projects unless they are given explicit approval to do so.
Well, again, the TV show didn't have to connect to the film at all, so like, it's not meant. Which is Marvel, they just pin themselves into a pit of doom. Like, honestly, we could do a whole podcast of how the Marvel has fallen, especially with the Marvels coming out this weekend, and is purportedly going to do the worst Marvel film box office ever.
Yeah, the interesting thing, I've been watching the reviews, and people are saying it's quite a good 2-hour romp.
It's not even 2 hours. It's only an hour and a half.
I've heard mixed opinions on that. Yeah. Like, I've heard some people say, man, like, the film had me, and then it does like two things that just stay in the film for too long. In fact, I've seen way too many people compare it to Thor: Love and Thunder, not to concern me severely.
I mean, it is part of the same phase.
Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder is just god awful garbage.
It's like that's when you
feel sorry for Christian Bale.
That's when you didn't pull all the reins a little bit on Taika Waititi, and he went a little too crazy.
Yeah. He ate a word salad with some chilies and then shat it all over the page. And I was like, "Yeah, there's the script. Let's go."
We probably could do an entire podcast on Marvel and how it went from here to like, you're never gonna stop this train, to the train is slowly coming to like, eventually it's gonna stop. Maybe Spider-Man's pulling on the reins a little bit to make it stop. Like, it's just...
it all went wrong the second they let Venom into their universe. And then he just brought everything down.
So they let what?
Venom.
Until they let Venom into the universe.
No. It had nothing to do with Sony. Oh my god,
like a fart in the wind.
Oh my god. Yeah, as soon as they put him in the end credit sequence to like transport him back to his universe, like that one moment.
I'm not being serious, but I just find that funny.
Yeah, it's just... It's I'm like, I think it's fatigue. I mean basically they destroyed the superhero market themselves by putting too many TV shows, too many movies. They literally destroyed their own market, and now it's like they have to stop. It's like, we cannot release this much stuff anymore.
Well, this is why Bob Iger coming back has been good for them, because they've shit-canned the Daredevil TV show that was...
Well, here's the other problem. They talk about projects before they even have a script for it. Like, what if you can't what if you can't write a good script for the movie you want to make? Like,
well, James Gunn was the only Marvel writer-director who actually wrote a script before they started shooting.
Yeah.
And all of the others were done as they were going along.
And then they have to do reshoots all the time because of testing. Yeah. Well, and then that's why James Gunn said when he took over DC, he's just like, which he didn't follow his own rule set, which is, we're not going to announce a film until we have a script for it. But I mean,
he had to say something because there were shareholders there,
right?
And shareholders need to be appeased.
And he is
not fans. Fuck fans. Shareholders need to be appeased.
He's also writing the first film in his new DC universe, so he can have the excuse to say, "Yeah, of course." But script's done apparently, so.
Yeah. So what I would say is, I would probably go and watch the Marvels at the cinema. There is no way in hell that I would pay to go and watch Aquaman 2.
I love the first film.
I'm a sucker for James Wan. He's a really good director. I might go see it in theaters. He's one I'm willing to support like 100%, because to me, he's not really failed in a film. Like, he did the original Saw movies. He did an original Saw movie, and then he did one of the best Fast and the Furious films. Like, that was hey, They're not good, but he did one of the better ones compared to the other ones. He did the one where you have to shoot a car from what location was it? They were going from like skyscraper to skyscraper in famous is it Dubai? I think Dubai. But anyways, they shot a car between skyscraper to skyscraper. That's pretty nifty. Like I wouldn't. That's a cool way of doing it. And Aquaman 1 was way better than it ever needed it to be. And visually, I think probably the best underwater like making.
It's honestly amazing it got that amount of that much of a budget to do all of those special effects. I would have never given it a budget that big.
Well, if you look at the budget, it wasn't even that big comparative to like past movies.
Really?
Yeah, I swear it was only like 150, maybe less.
Must have had a very well done production or something.
Well, I mean, James Wan is just really good at that's like that. She's just a really good director. Like that's what you get when you have a really good director. Knows exactly what shots he's gonna get, when he's gonna get them, and like doesn't have to like waste shots. Like I think his first movie, Saw, was supposed to be a student project. Wow, we're getting into film instead of video games, but let me just, I'll just finish. But his first project, if you didn't know, was like, it was a student project, the original first Saw movie, with his friend in school. And then they actually got $1 million to film it in 12 days.
Sounds exactly like something an edgy teenager would come with.
And, became a giant franchise. So good for him. Like the guy knows how to make movies. Like I'm always behind him until he fails.
What I would say is the only thing that I've learned from this entire discussion is Mitch and Liam hate films with strong female leads in, and that's why they have refused to go and watch the Marvels.
No.
No.
Give me an Alita Battle Angel sequel. Fuck off.
That is a surprisingly good film.
Yeah, it's really good.
Or one particular bad actor in that film.
But no. Don't get this twisted there. I'm one of the,
I misconstrue nothing.
Hey, I'm a huge fan of the movie Memoirs of a Geisha, and that is a strong female actress. It's an amazing film. It's an amazing film.
I haven't watched that in years.
It's one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. I will watch it always, any day. It's beautiful artistry. Only stipulation is a bunch of the actors are Chinese and not Japanese, so it's really kind of insulting. Like they couldn't grab actual Japanese actors to play some of these roles, but Michelle Yeoh's great. I love Michelle Yeoh.
In fairness, there is a problem with Japanese actors not being able to speak English very well.
That is true. However, in the film, they don't speak. They pretty much don't speak like super fluent English, anyways. They really.
I suppose, yeah.
So
that is true.
So, but
welcome to the first ever Pixel Pints filmcast. Tune in another time where we can finish this conversation. Do we want to do beers, or should we just skip to the topic?
I already happened. I already started the beer thing, so you might as well talk about what you're drinking.
Okay. Lucky Saints, 0.5% low alcohol. This stuff's really nice. But we were talking for so long, I've already finished it. So I'm back on the hard stuff, Carlsberg Export. And yeah, that's it.
Cosmic Stardust. It's too early. But isn't the European game going to be on soon?
Is it next week?
Is it next week? I thought it was this week.
No, there was one last week in Frankfurt. I didn't know they were doing back-to-back games in Frankfurt.
I thought there was one this week. I could be wrong. Anyway, Liam, what are you drinking?
Oh, just some Pepsi. Pepsi Max.
Nice. Did you hear they're bringing back the original game fuel? That's amazing. Can't wait for it. Anyway, moving on.
It is Colts Patriots is on now. 7-3 to the Colts.
There we go. Okay.
I hate the Colts.
I hate the Colts.
A very, very quick story. One of the times where I was going to the NFL match at Wembley, we were just pulling in on the tube to the station at Wembley, and everyone was just about to stand up, and I shouted down the carriage, "Stand up if you hate the Colts." And everyone stood up at the same time.
Wait, tube means subway, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, what's the tube?
Masterfully timed.
Is it the tube? Usually a television, but we call it the boob tube. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so and that was hilarious. That gave everyone a chuckle, mainly me.
You should have recorded it.
Yeah, at the time it wasn't.
Send it at the NFL, and then they would have posted it.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I don't think my phone. It was one of those spontaneous things. Like, oh, I'm going to say something funny now. Best get my phone out. Wankers. Script everything so you can post it on YouTube rather than just be funny.
That's why you need full recordings. You just go, bam, clip, send.
Right. I shall very, very quickly give a update to last week's Starfield discussion of. It was a solid 7 out of 10 until I completed one of the missions near the end, and it said, right, now you need to go to this place, and to do that, you need to have invested in this skill or this skill that you need to either extend the distance that your ship can travel faster than light, or your ship building skill so that you can put a better reactor and or grav drive in so that you can jump further. And I thought, you fucking bastards.
Wow.
Nowhere through the entire I played just over 80 hours. Nowhere near up to that 80-hour mark did you say anything throughout the game at all that I would need to invest anything in these two skills. And now you're telling me to complete the game, I have to invest in these two skills.
Wait,
and
sorry, for clarification, you did all the side mission stuff already, right?
Basically everything.
So
I
basically,
did a near enough entire clear down.
So you basically spent all the skill points you're practically gonna earn in this game, and now it's telling you to go back and play the game more to spend skill points.
One more skill point.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. Oh, my number went down.
I was literally fuming. I nearly got to the point where I nearly said, fuck you, that's it, I'm out. And then I thought, no, I've spent this long doing it, I'm going to complete the game. So I ended up having to go and do a load of just land on random planets, find locations where I know there's going to be spacer outposts. Because anytime it said deserted or abandoned in front of any other words, you know that means there's going to be a load of bad people there. So I just went to a few of these places, killed everyone. On my way there, killed all of the wildlife. Managed to get one more skill point and went to use it on the best spaceship that I had. Couldn't use it on that. Oh my God. So I ended up having to use the crap ship that you got at the beginning of the game. And the fight that you get into when you fly to this planet where it tells you that it's just a bit too far, even though you've flown through half of the galaxy to get there in the first place. Yeah. But no, this star here is too far away.
Yeah, it never makes any sense.
It was so frustrating. But one thing that redeemed it was because the state is persistent throughout the game. I could jump to that location, have a bit of the fight. When I thought I was going to get killed, I could jump away, repair my ship, and then jump back. But that shouldn't be like that. Just thinking, oh my God, who made this design choice? God. So yeah, Starfield's a 5 out of 10.
Whoa.
You know, the most worrying thing about this is whether you like them or not, like Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, Morrowind, they're all like meticulously crafted games that don't have little ridiculous things like that. That they pride themselves on not making the player have to go out of the way to do something stupid. I would say
it's the whole thing about you can play this game however you want, except for when we tell you can't.
Yeah, exactly. And
or we make it extremely difficult to play it the way you want.
Yeah.
Either the game was rushed, or they just don't have the same level of design expertise that they once did. And I'm afraid that it might be the latter there.
And it comes back to what I was saying before. I don't need to have worked in the games industry to know that that's a stupid goddamn decision.
Well,
exactly.
Liam, let me add a third option to your options list. I think is the better option. I think it's that games back then had limitations, so it's easier to design for, to be able to make it so that you don't have so much choice. Whereas now, where we're at in games, we have so much availability to developers to be able to do whatever they want, that they have so much choice that it's not really designed for anything.
I don't know, because there are a contingent of people that actually miss the way they used to design games in games like Morrowind. And Morrowind is a more complex game in certain ways than Skyrim or Starfield. I don't know, especially when you look to what a team like Larian have done with Baldur's Gate 3, or frankly just Alan Wake 2, or something like that. And you tend to think, actually, maybe they're asleep at the wheel.
But that's exactly my point, though, is that they have so much choice, they don't know what to do with it all, and then they're making bad design choices. Because they're like,
and this is...
we're so used to doing it how we used to do things, and
Right.
that was because of the limitations of what we had. But now we have such an expanse of things. We'll add a little nook at here, a little nook at there, but they never really put it all together to see what it actually
I think
is like.
one of the limitations that they put on themselves is we have to make this a Bethesda RPG. But what does that mean? you Bethesda Game Studios define what that means, not what other people believe you think it means, or they think it means. Mm-hmm. So they could have done something different, but they wanted to stick to what they'd done historically, but just do it in this setting and make it bigger. And the end game of Starfield seemed like boring crap. You had two options, which is do the game again, play it through, because spoilers, at the end of the game you enter into a different universe. So nothing that happened throughout my playthrough of the game actually mattered at all, because you just jump to a different universe and you can do it all again.
So it's a smart new game plus if it's done right, and it wasn't, in my opinion, done right.
And then, or what you can do is ignore the main story again and just go exploring to fill out the map, fill out the galaxy map. Go and visit all of these planets with nothing on it that you didn't see because there was no reason to go there in your first playthrough. Or I chose option 3, uninstall.
Yeah.
Sounds like you made the right choice.
Yes, I did. Liam, you wanted to talk about Spider-Man.
I do. Okay, so I love the 2018 Spider-Man game, and I love Miles Morales, and I think this game's superior in pretty much almost every way in regards to gameplay, minus a few interesting design decisions. I'm still not quite sure exactly how I feel about some of them, like for instance the parry system. I'm not sure whether that was necessary in the game, but I still enjoyed using it, which is more than can be said for Evan, who clearly did not enjoy it very much. But this game is a weird game because it has all of my favorite things in it when it comes to Spider-Man. I love playing it. I'm just playing it. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. I love playing as Spider-Man. But then I just think it's so rushed and it's so incoherent at times that it's very distracting, very annoying, and some of the decisions they make in terms of the overall pacing of the game is just terrible.
So when you say rushed, do you mean rushed as in they rush you through the story, or
I think multiple perspectives, really. I think you could say that the game's development was rushed a little bit, because it's sort of like some of these design decisions needed a little bit more thought, maybe a little bit more testing, a little bit more decision making, and then the story is just a bit rushed. It speeds through certain things that should have had a bit more time dedicated to them, and then it rushes through other things that you're like, oh, good, yeah, I'm glad you rushed through that, because I'm not very interested in that, but which would be a question of why was that even there in the first place if you rushed through it like that.
Can you give us an example of when you say the rushed design choice?
I'd say it's rushed in that, say you get the black suit, and it just rushes through this person, well, Peter Parker, basically getting used to the symbiote in their suit. It rushes through sort of explaining who the villain is, um, and it rushes through a lot of the big events that happen in the game, I'd say. There's some pretty poignant things that happen in the game, but the game just takes no time sort of going into why this is a big deal, why is this happening, how is the characters and the city reacting to things happening. But instead, it just sort of goes through that so fast that you don't really get a good opportunity, which wouldn't be a problem if the game didn't put so much emphasis on the location, the city itself. And I think the biggest problem of all is just the level of writing in this game is subpar compared to the last two. There's some really, really cringy and bad and like some writing that really just breaks the first rules of writing dialogue, I would say. And it's uncomfortably cheesy for a Spider-Man game, especially when you've got so many other Spider-Man things to compare it to.
Spider-Man is a bit of a kind of comedic slump, somewhat cheesy, somewhat not character.
Yeah, exactly. He's quite campy and silly, and I would say the humor is probably one of the best aspects of the character because it sort of helps you deal with the darker elements that can be in the story a little bit easier. But I mean, like in Marvel's Spider-Man 2018, he's like making quite a few quips and having a lot of fun. But in this game, it's like it forgets to do that a lot of the time when you could be having a little more fun with the character making a few more quips and.
But do you think the
sort
story
of having more fun?
But wouldn't you say that the story, the way that specific character is going through what they're going through, that they wouldn't be in the mood to make as many of those quips as they would in 2018?
Oh, personally, I think they could. They could just put in more mean-spirited jokes in there.
Because I think they really dig into the trauma of what has happened in 2018 for Peter, and I personally think one of the things, because it sort of says something at the beginning of the game, and then it never mentions it again until part of the way through the game. It's like, oh yeah, you remember this thing that he's upset about? This is causing him a lot of problems, guys. Like, I know he hasn't mentioned it in the game for like hours, but let's bring it up now and talk about how this is really affecting him.
I do take the point because having seen even there were some mean-spirited jokes in the 90s cartoon where he got taken over by the Venom symbiote, where he would still quip, but he'd be mean.
Yeah, I mean, he does do that
he's joking at people's expense rather than joking with them.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say he does do that in the Venom suit. He tends to make mean-spirited, insulting comments while he's in the suit. I'm just curious, did you, when you were like doing all the stuff, like when you finish a main story beat and a bunch of side stuff, would you go do all the side stuff, or were you just beelining mainly the main story and doing some small amount?
I'd usually go and do a bunch of side stuff.
Because I just felt as I did the side stuff more, it very much helped me entrench myself into the character a little more, especially when I got the black suit. Because I was doing all those side missions, and then I'd get all the comments that he was saying about different things, like fighting villains on the streets with some side characters and seeing how he reacted. Like if you do the reaction with your partner after killing taking care of all the enemies, like it's different, and their reaction is different.
I would have said that the side content was probably one of my biggest problems, is that it was just not very interesting and not very good. I think most of the poor writing, bar a few things in the main story that happen later on in the game, were some of the worst writing in the game, in my opinion. Like all of the stuff that you do, for instance, with Yuri. What you call herself in the game? Wraith. Yeah, Wraith. All of the stuff that you do with Wraith was like, this is a really good concept, but it's just really poorly written, doesn't sort of address her main sort of the crux of her character well enough. And like some of the pointless things they get you to do at the Brooklyn Visions Academy and things like that, I was just like, why is Spider-Man doing this? I get he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but it's like one of these things. This person is trying to make you go and collect something for him that he forgot, and it's just like, dude, just do it yourself.
But isn't that what Spider-Man
right
really
now.
does? Especially like Miles
Really?
at the time. Miles is still like, you know, he's still learning to be Spider-Man, and so like I would think that Miles would be helping his classmates as Spider-Man.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like it would be more acceptable if the missions weren't bland and boring as all hell.
Well, if you want to talk bland and boring side missions, I did play 80 hours of Starfield.
It's your choice.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Liam, have you? So you've completed the game. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you have the platinum trophy?
No, not yet. I've just got
Then
to go
your
and mop
opinion
up a
on
few
anything
things.
about it doesn't count.
According to Evan Piotrowski.
Well, the reason I haven't gone in to mop up those trophies already, which I absolutely could have, is because I just didn't feel like playing it, because the game kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And it's weird, right? Because it's sort of like, how can you be so in love with something and also be completely disappointed? I feel like a lot of the decisions that they make in this game weren't nearly as well thought out compared with the previous games. You know, you're watching them and going through them, and you really felt like they're making these decisions for a reason. Like the character motivations are perfectly on point, and all of the things that are happening to them are like, yeah, this is growing the characters. But in this game, it's just so sort of all over the place, in my opinion. And I don't know what's going on with Insomniac's design team, but some moments in the game did not have the effect they clearly desired. I remember that there's a scene where a character unveils a suit, and you're just like, oh my god, this is the most ugly suit I've ever seen in my life. And it's very strange, and I think a lot of the characters come across very badly because of some of the poor writing. Like for instance, Mary Jane, who I thought she was fine in the game before. I thought her sections of gameplay were far better in this game, where they were highly lacking in the previous game. But they also made no sense. Like, they were completely crazy and ridiculous to what that character should be capable of. And her character was just probably the worst written in the entire game, because I get what they were trying to do, because she's like trying to find her own purpose while standing behind Spider-Man, which is quite a difficult person to sort of stand next to, I guess. But it just came across as a little bit what would be the word? It's sort of like being a bit selfish because somebody has a more important role in society than you, and being upset about it. But it wasn't executed correctly, because it's like there could have been a lot they could have done with that, like with the symbiote suit and things like that.
Is that so?
But
Basically,
because of the writing, it made her come across as more selfish and unfairly upset about everything, instead of it being like an interesting look at their relationship.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Having not played it, I can't really say. What I will say is that the 2018 version Spider-Man game, I loved it. So I'm looking forward to playing Miles Morales, and then this whenever I get a PS5, hopefully one that I will have a disk drive and won't wipe my hard drive if I try and uninstall the disk drive.
I think, Keith, I think you'll still enjoy it, even if you don't entirely enjoy the story or some of the design decisions. Because I'd still tell people to play it like straight away, because it's, you know, there's no game on the market right now that quite has the same level of gameplay, I think, that these games do. I love Spider-Man games, and these ones just get more and more fun to play with each entry. So at least there's that. You may not like it, but you'll have a great time playing it.
Yeah, I think in this instance for this iteration, I feel like they stacked on a lot of things in comparison of like reimagining everything, and it can feel that way because you're just stacking on new things, like a parry system, and you changed one thing about how the tools work instead of doing the tools a certain way, and then having a power wheel. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same, core mechanic between all the titles. So,
It's a shame, Mitch, is that this game doesn't have a new Game Plus mode like at launch. Because I feel like this game would benefit from that. I would love to go right back into it with all of the upgraded powers and things.
It's not the first time a Sony title doesn't have a new Game Plus.
Yeah.
God of War Ragnarok didn't. The original God of War didn't.
Yeah.
The Last of Us Part 2 didn't have one. It seems to be a consistency of where they're just like, let's make sure the first part of the game is solid when we put it out there, and then we'll give the people a new Game Plus later. Which I rather take that over having a new Game Plus and then having the original game not be as polished.
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting point. Did you experience any bugs while you were playing the game?
I got a couple.
I got barely any.
I got one where I flung an epic fight between two very powerful spiders. I flung the other one by accident by using a power move. He bounced off a wall and then he got stuck in the tree above, and he's stuck in the collision, and I couldn't shoot him from below, and so I had to restart the whole fight again, just like that checkpoint. I was a little frustrated because I was actually making progress on that fight, and I was like, dang it, I gotta redo this. But besides that, I some minor ones, but nothing crazy. I didn't get anything wild.
Yeah. My gameplay experience was pretty much completely bug free. So it was weird playing through it and seeing other people on the internet having huge problems.
Well, some people are doing some very crazy things that I don't think the game was. When you go games provide you a set of rules, right? And when you try to go against those rules, of course, crazy shit's gonna happen. There's no subway usage in this title. And so people are like, let me go in the subway with all these weird little things that I can do. And it's like, of course it's going to act unnaturally to you because you're not supposed to go there.
I mean, it's not that, though. I saw a lot of glitches that were happening while people were just in the middle of combat or just swinging through the city and things like that.
Or cycling in Evan's case.
Yeah. I did see one that turned...
swallowed up by the ground.
I did see one where... if you did it a certain way, Spider-Man would go into Naruto mode where the arms are behind his back and he's running like Naruto would run. It was fun. I liked it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That sounds cool.
But yeah, no, it's it can happen. I mean, I've had many titles that I play now, especially now more than ever. Every title I play, I find something. I was just once you learn, you cannot unsee things anymore that you used to be like, I never noticed, and now I notice it all the time. So unfortunately, it slightly ruins games for me. But yeah. I know
Same.
I can forgive it.
Right. And what else did we want to talk about? Mitch, did you want to talk about a game that you've been playing, or did we want to discuss how terrible Call of Duty is?
I have not played a game since Spider-Man, so I finished it, and we talked about it last week, so I don't need to talk about a game. So you pick the topic you were going to pick. One of the two. It's your choice.
Nobody wants to talk about Chinese gacha games, right? Anybody?
Okay.
Liam,
you just wanted to kind of do a sales pitch for Genshin Impact?
No.
I got a group of friends that would love to give you a sales pitch, Keith. Just let me know. I'll let them know. They'll pull you into the cult. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, but if you do play one of them, play Honkai Star Rail because it's just exceptional compared to Genshin Impact.
Sorry, Genshin is bestowed into my bloodstream. I can't betray the Genshin.
I've got no idea what you're on about. Liam, topic us.
Okay, so I wasn't sure which way we want to handle this, but I since the venerable Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the second one, the second, not Call of Duty 3 from 2009, Call of Duty 3 from 2023, that has 3 and no more than Roman numerals, so it's different. It's not the same. It's different. It has all of the maps in the original Modern Warfare 2. Are you confused yet? With that game coming out and it getting terrible reviews across the board, far beyond any game in the franchise's past, which is kind of crazy to me because honestly, some of them have been absolute stinkers. What would you propose should be the direction going forwards for the franchise, with them not seeming to be able to do anything right lately?
Right in whose eyes?
That's fair.
Practically everybody's eyes, I would say. The fans are never happy.
The fans are never happy. So we had Infinite Warfare, which personally I like that game.
Yeah.
I thought the campaign was one of the better ones in the series, but everyone started bitching and moaning about boots on the ground, and then they were given boots on the ground, and then they bitched and moaned about that, and then they said, oh, we don't want that anymore. Can we go back to what we had before? And then that had to be reinvented, but it basically was just an old game with a new skin, but then people didn't like that. So I think it's kind of, I would describe Call of Duty as the biggest successful con in video games history, because it's managed to convince millions of people that it is the only game worth playing annually.
I don't know about that. I mean,
it's not. It's kind of like, I was going to say cultish, but it's not. It's not reached that level of devotion, really.
is that not strong enough?
No, possibly not. But almost as if there's this sense of, if I'm not doing this, I should be, with a certain segment of the gaming community, and I don't understand why. Okay, I got into Warzone quite hard, but then I also fell off it quite hard. Whereas the Call of Duty seems to have convinced its player base that the only reason that you should be playing it is because you're playing it. And what I mean by that is there's no real incentive to actually play the campaign anymore, because you don't get the main satisfaction that I see people who play Call of Duty a lot is in the multiplayer. It's in the other modes where you rank up skills and gun. No, you don't rank up skills. You rank up weapons, and then you can get your Damascus skin for getting 2.5 million headshots with no scope from half a mile away. All it is this hamster wheel of people playing the game because they feel like they need to be doing something in it, and the designers of Call of Duty have managed to convince enough people on that hamster wheel to keep staying on it. And it's kind of like the Matrix, or what Mitch was saying before. Once you see something, you therefore can't unsee it. I now see the gameplay loop by watching other people play the game every day, and it's just, this is somewhat insidious.
I can't say I agree with you completely.
Oh, no, you don't have to agree with me, but you don't have a platinum trophy in Spider-Man 2, so therefore I just ignore everything you said about it.
Yeah, this is true. A lot of AK-47s in Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it is that instance of, there's all the stuff that's coming up now about the zombies mode, which apparently on day one was an absolute farce. The servers were crap.
I've heard the opposite. Well, okay, the servers, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But I can understand why they've changed. So going back to the discussion about why has Call of Duty gone open world? Well, it's because they don't give a shit about the campaign. All they've done is teach the people in the campaign, here's what the zombies map's going to look like, and here's where the weapon cache is in the zombies mode that we want you to play forever, because we'll be having a battle pass for that, and various different events that you can buy into. So that's where they're making the most of their investment in the alternative modes, whether that be multiplayer or zombies or whatever other mode, or Warzone 2 or Warzone 3 or whatever it's going to be next time round. That's where they want the players, in the perpetual grind of gun leveling.
You've got to admit, though, at the moment, if people want to play a game like Call of Duty, they're rather lacking for choice, especially right now, compared to, like, say, back in 2010, 2011, how many other competitors there were in the sort of military shooter genre, as opposed to now, where like the only thing I can think of on the horizon is X-Defiant by Ubisoft, and that seems to be the only thing that could possibly pose any threat to their sort of monopoly that they sort of have over that kind of space at the moment.
It would take so many people to jump off Call of Duty to go and play X-Defiant that it would even... X-Defiant isn't going to do anything in terms of eat into COD's market share.
I mean,
no, I don't think so either. But
I would say
sorry,
go.
No, please, Mitch. I've spoken enough.
I was gonna say the tricky part is, Keith, unfortunately, we're in the spot because Call of Duty made a smart move like 20 years ago, to like 15 to 20 years ago, when they were the only ones to go modern. All the games, all the shooters back in that time, back in like 2008, 2005, whatever the first Modern Warfare came out, all those shooters were old school World War II shooters. And no one decided to go modern. And they chose to do that. Not only did they choose to go modern, they chose at the right time when online multiplayer was growing and it was like starting to bevy up as like a standard. The only thing that was close to it at the time would have been Halo 3, which I think when you show something that's modern, like a modern shooter with modern weapons, you know, some of the missions in the campaign actually looked really cool, like some stuff you would actually see in modern war. And I think that's what also captivated people's interest, along with probably the time period we were in, which is in the middle of the Iraq War, which is also captivating people's interest of being like, what is modern war like right now? So capturing all that together, and you put that into an online multiplayer shooter when online multiplayer is growing, and everyone is playing that one because that's the most unique thing on the market, and no one challenges it to the point that you can say this is a better proposition, this is the result you get. Like there's nothing that you can do to change this at the moment. There really isn't. You could make the best shooter in the world and people will not play it because people are obsessed with playing Call of Duty because they've done it for 15 years. That's all they know. That's all they've done. When they're like, what does my friend play? My friend plays Call of Duty. So what am I going to play? I'm obviously going to play Call of Duty. My friends aren't on my friends aren't on this other shooter. They're on Call of Duty. And that's what happened, was the people that were obsessed with these games convince their friends to play these games. And then what game are they always going to get every year? It's Call of Duty, because my best friend's playing Call of Duty. I'm going to play Call of Duty with them. That's what happened. Like, there's nothing, like, they could release the shittiest shooter in the world. And as long as it's something close to what they released last year in regards to quality of Call of Duty, they're happy with it because they just want a new map with the same Call of Duty.
Well, I think the impetus for the conversation is that they're not doing quite as well as they were, like, now.
Agreed.
Well, they're not.
But still well enough to afford to do this every year.
If they keep it up, may not get away with it.
With Microsoft's backing, they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, the problem that I see is that if you just look for Call of Duty videos on YouTube at the moment, it's top 10 strats to level your guns. Or here's the latest exploit on the map on multiplayer. It's all focused to keep people playing, but I can't. Says someone who spent 34 days playing Apex Legends.
I was gonna say, couldn't you argue the same thing for Apex right now? Like, if you went on YouTube, you would find the same types of things, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but the issue that I've got is, and why I thought it was worth talking about, is I'm seriously close to binning Apex.
That's good. I had an intervention scheduled for next week, but I mean,
I think
don't worry, we'll send you your 30-day chip. Just let us know.
And I've got to the point now where it's the loop of the gameplay just isn't clicking with me anymore. And the same thing happened much more quickly when it came to Modern Warfare, Warzone, and Modern Warfare 2. Actually, have I played Modern Warfare 2? No, I haven't. Because fuck those games. Because the entire thing in Call of Duty now is leading people by the nose to the modes that generate recurring user spending. And it's so easy to see what that's doing that I just can't. I understand there is a large contingent of people who love that, and they love Warzone ranked, and they people are going to fawn over the new zombies mode, which is just I'm trying to think of an equivalent game, probably something like the Division,
or Blizzard games.
Yeah, the DMZ mode, or some of the modes in Destiny 2 or Destiny.
Bloody Activision has it good, don't they? Bastards.
I mean, could I also argue the fact that maybe you were more attached to Apex Legends because it was a new shooter, and like the exploits of people playing the game for years, like it was not out for decades, where people have learned to master the Call of Duty. Because like, yes, Call of Duty does do things to change its gameplay every now and then. However, it is still technically in many aspects still the same type of game. Where in comparison to Apex Legends, that's brand new and different.
There's two things about that. Why did I click with Apex Legends, not so much with Call of Duty? I felt like respawn, at least for me, I feel like the gunplay just works a bit better. And then the second thing is how obvious it is that we just want you to continue playing the game, and we get you to continue playing the game through all of these shitty design decisions that Activision Blizzard have made. Like, oh, we're going to release a new battle pass, and if you buy the battle pass, you can get access to this great new gun that is totally OP until we nerf it in about 6 weeks' time. Oh, did we say that in 6 weeks' time the new battle pass comes out, and that will have a brand new gun that will be totally OP until we nerf it in about 6 weeks' time?
Not to mention as well, Keith, because you were a free-to-play player, right?
Yes.
Warzone. So you never even got access to any of the games, any of the weapons that were in Modern Warfare 2019.
Yeah,
or one, if you prefer.
Well, I bought one of the reasons that I actually ended up being part of the problem, because I felt like I could not compete in the original Warzone because it took so long to unlock attachments to be competitive. I bought on a sale Modern Warfare so that I could use the guns in the multiplayer to level them up to play Warzone, and it's just why have I done this? All I've done is give them money so that I keep playing to give them more money. I'm not doing it. And that's when I stopped. Because the other thing that they do is they nerf they nerf weapons. They overpower weapons on purpose, so that people play with those. Then they nerf them into the ground, so people quit playing with them. But then some of the weapon balances they do make other weapons OP, so everyone plays with those. And I've seen loads and loads of people online just say, I'm bored with the meta, because everyone's using the same stuff all the time. It's not so bad now, but back in the day, there was only 2 guns that anyone ever used.
This is you're pretty much on what exactly my problem is with Call of Duty these days, which is one absolute deranged corporate greed.
Yeah,
Excessively, like just absurd levels. It's the most successful game brand in the world, and the way they treat their consumers is maddening. And then the other is just complete and utter lack of any semblance of organisation. And those are the things that make playing Call of Duty unenjoyable.
Couldn't you argue it on both?
Your excitement for it.
I was gonna say, Liam, could you argue it on both sides though? Of like, yeah, the corporation sucks that they do that, but also it sucks that the people actually fall for it and do it. Because like if they didn't do it, they would take it out of the game. Like if any player base has power over this title, it's this player base. Like they could, and there's communities that could
really
make the
power,
decisions.
Though, is it just the illusion of power?
It's
Because
the
people
illusion.
have more power over a game like, say, Diablo 4, which has far fewer players. Those players that play that game religiously could actually tell them, actually, we're not going to support you if you keep doing this. And they could actually do it, because especially the people that are actually into the community and the whales that are spending massive amounts of money on it, that they could actually cause the developers to rethink their strategy for releasing content for that game. And to a certain degree sort of have, but it never quite goes far enough. Whereas Call of Duty's just so big that it can't fail at this point.
I mean,
if all of the streamers and all of the sort of community members left or banded together, Activision could decide, we're not going to listen. We don't care. And it would probably still be have some level of success.
Well, they did try with the boots on the ground things. Like, okay, get what you want, boots on the ground.
I suppose that's true.
And then people moaned about that. And I think it's from that point on that Activision corporately just went, fuck it, you're going to buy the game anyway, we're going to do what we want.
The thing with the boots on the ground thing, though, I found it quite annoying at the time, because I remember, I think, was it Black Ops 4? Was it Black Ops 4? I feel like it was...
The multiplayer one only. And everyone moaned that there was no campaign, but loads of people bought it anyway.
No, it wasn't Black Ops 4. It was it was the year after Advanced Warfare had come out.
The worst part about this whole thing is we can never remember what exact title these are, because there's so many damn of them, and they all sound the same damn thing.
Yeah, but it was right after Advanced Warfare had come out. We were getting ready for whatever the game was that was launching that year, and I can't remember what it was. But like Call of Duty just leaks like a sieve every year. You know what the next title's going to be. You know what the title 3 years from then is going to be, and everybody knew that. Everybody that was paying attention knew that boots on the ground was going away, and then all of the fans were like, "Oh God, I can't take it anymore." And Infinite Warfare was coming out, and nobody cared about the fact that was next year it would go back to the way you want it to be, and so nobody paid any attention to the game and just kept complaining. It's like they wanted them to change the game to what they wanted it to be when it was like just coming out. And one of the things with that is it was just such an immature conversation to the point where I lost any cares in the world.
Well, games and maturity don't really go hand in hand.
Exactly. And when they did go back to boots on the ground, the games they released were horrible. And then people still
World War II again.
Yeah, World War II, and I think people like Black Ops 4, but obviously no campaign. Actually, I suppose that I didn't play Black Ops 4, so I can't really say.
One thing, going back to something you said, Liam, about what if all of the streamers left? The streamers wouldn't do that, because if you're known as being a Call of Duty streamer, if you try and do anything else other than that, your numbers tank.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, one person I know is a small streamer. He started playing Destiny on stream, and he went from maybe getting kind of around 100 viewers to 20 because he was playing Destiny and not Call of Duty. I don't know what it is that has got people so convinced that Call of Duty is this absolutely amazing game that everyone should be tuned into. And this is where I think it's they've pulled off the best con job in...
Well, Keith, like, to a certain degree, the reason you played Warzone in the first place was because that year's game actually had something to it. You're like, oh, this is
free to play for a start.
I mean, yeah, true. And the pandemic had just happened as well.
Yeah, and I had friends playing it. I had friends playing it who were all on furlough. So,
but ever since then, because I like Call of Duty 2019, even though I have a few problems with it. Like, it was a good step in the right direction for the franchise, and then you have Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which was also a pretty good game, and then the year after that, Vanguard, downhill. Modern Warfare 2, downhill. Modern Warfare 3, downhill. And all of those reasonings, if it had been a step up from 2019, with each of those successive titles, who knows where things would be going right now. But instead, it's a step down every time. And it's gotten to the point, Keith, where this year's game wasn't even supposed to be a game. It was supposed to be a DLC expansion to the previous game.
Well, yeah, because again, the main mode is meant to be zombies, which is I think Call of Duty...
Well, zombies wasn't even supposed to be part of this game. It was a separate product that was supposed to be a free-to-play zombies experience.
Yeah.
But they stuck onto this game because they need
to pay 70 quid for it. Yeah. I think they should just bite the bullet and just say, screw you, we know you're going to pay for it anyway. If you want, and then sell the campaign bespokely, and say, if you want the campaign, pay you, I don't know, $14.99, but if you want to play the main thing that you want to play, the multiplayer, that's $59.99, and you can just play that. But they'll do it because the thing that turned me off of playing Warzone and Warzone 2 was the gun grind, because all it is go and buy the other game, otherwise you can't play. If you want to be good in this free to play battle royale, you basically have to own the main game. Mitch is kind of pulling a face like I don't know about that, but that is literally the experience.
I find this conversation frivolous and stupid.
Painful?
It's frivolous and stupid, and I can't say anything because I haven't played a Call of Duty game in probably 10 years, but that's just because nothing about Call of Duty. Well, I just played Warzone. I played a little bit, but nothing about Call of Duty amuses me, interests me. It's all the same thing. I'll admit I'm a little bit of a shrill. I'll play every Madden game because and the only reason I'll play the new Madden game is because I want the new fucking roster, because my team hopefully will get better next year, or I can then imagine them being a better team if I ran the team, which is a hypocritical thing to do. But anyway, I don't know. I'm so not entrenched in the culture of this online multiplayer stuff, and I think that gives me an interesting viewpoint from the outside to see how crazy everybody is about this stuff, and seeing where was the impetus of this entire movement. And I could tell you exactly where it came from, and to just know that it's a never stopping train, and I can never see it stopping unless the player base just gives up on the title. But I don't see that happening either. It's this is never going to stop.
Put it this way, right, Mitch? Mitch, since you're that player that hasn't connected with the franchise in forever, or at all, frankly, what would you get Microsoft to do now that they have ownership over the franchise to get you back in the door? And I'm not talking for a year's game. I'm talking long term. It can be as big a changes as you want for. the franchise. It could change the franchise completely.
I think at this very moment, the franchise is so convoluted. I want them to start from scratch. I literally just want them to be, and what I mean by start from scratch, I mean by like where the title begins in regards to if they're gonna tell it. It's like basically they need to make a choice. Are they making a single player game or are they making a multiplayer game? And in regards to if they want to just ignore single player, don't do any more single player stuff. Don't even like hold the carrot out for those people because no one gives a shit, because clearly they don't give a shit. That's pretty obvious. They don't care. So if they're going to put single player stuff in, start from scratch. I just want to Call of Duty 1, period. Start from scratch. Show that you put like care into the single player, that if I were to play another sequel of this title, there's something there from a single player perspective for players that want a single player experience, while still keeping the multiplayer what they want to keep it as for those multiplayer type people. But I really just think at this point, I'm like, why do they even bother with single player? Because it's not for me. Like I just know it's the running gag of the joke. They don't care about single player, yet they put a single player out there and they say we care about it, and then people play it and go, "This is a shitty single player. Why are we playing this?" So if they put time and care into a single player, that actually might get me to transition to the multiplayer. But to just hop onto the multiplayer where these players are vastly experienced, I'm gonna get my ass whooped, and like don't understand how all these systems work, blah 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 blah, and they're like, that's why we make the single player. But the single player is not interesting to play. So like you can do both, but they just don't do it. They rely on the player base that was there before, and that's their problem. That is their extreme problem they have right now, to bring in new players. The only thing to bring in new players is their friends, to convince them to buy the title, to play with them, and then learn and get good. That's their system right now. It's not a good system. It's not one that's going to entice players to come and play their games. So for me, that's what it is. Like, if you want me to go into the multiplayer, really invest in your single player, make it a robust, good single player experience that teaches me the tools I need to learn. Yes, will I need to learn some stuff when I get into the multiplayer? Absolutely. I'm fine with that. But at least give me a single player experience that's worth playing. I think that was the big thing. Wow, I'm on a rant. That was the big thing that I think convinced players to something new and different, was when they did the original Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, those two single players were some of the most talked about things in shooters, because they were also good, robust single player experiences. They offered things that we hadn't seen in single player first person shooters before. One, because it was modern time, but two, some of the missions were just really memorable. We had no Russian. We had the stealth mission in the grass with the camo suits on. Like visually, that's stunning. Visually, that got players going. Up. Yeah. Yes. It's like there's a bunch of things that happened in the single player that brought people in and then brought them to the multiplayer. And see, that's their problem right now. And I think I would never jump into the single player ever, because the single player right now is so convoluted, so confusing. I don't know who the characters are. Why would I give a fuck? So like, it's just not worth my time ever. Like until they fix the single player, I will never jump into the Call of Duty ever, personally, or pay for it.
For that very reason, I think, what will Microsoft do? Absolutely nothing.
Because it'll give them Game Pass subscriptions. If anything, they're going to tie Call of Duty into their Game Pass and being like, you want to play Call of Duty? You have to subscribe to Game Pass. Like, it shows it more than ever because of the whole, and I know the story got like fixed up a little bit because they found out, but like kicking their employees off of Game Pass so they had to subscribe manually to boost up their numbers. Like, that's all they care about. Like, if it's any more blatantly obvious of what that team wants and why they brought in Call of Duty, it's to boost up Game Pass subscriptions. That's all it is.
Well, what are your views on them continually doing the game annually? Do you think if they stop that could help? Do you think the game going on to Game Pass could help?
It's
manually. I don't understand what you mean manually.
And so they release
annually. Sorry, I thought you said manually.
Yeah,
like
sorry.
man, I
might have said that wrong.
Yeah, someone cranks the handle and then the games get pushed out.
To be honest, I think it helps Game Pass if they did it annually. I mean, for me, I I care about quality over quantity, and Microsoft has never showed me they cared about quality over quantity. They always cared about quantity. They've always wanted more of this. They always want more of that. They always want to go on their stage and say, we have 50 games that are exclusive to our platform, but I only want to play like 1, maybe 2.
I mean, to give them some credit, I think if they did care about quantity over quality, they would have kept releasing Forza Motorsport games every couple of years.
They kind of still
do. They stopped.
Well,
no. I mean, there's Forza Horizon, right? And
I
that's
count
sort of like
that.
its own thing. They even took 3 years to do the last one instead of 2.
Wow.
Whereas Motorsport stopped after 7 and just called it a day, went back to the drawing board, made a new engine, and then finally released it after quite a few delays.
But I bet you there's going to be a Forza Horizon next year, and there's going to be a regular Forza Motorsport the next year.
Well, no, there won't be a Motorsport because they seem to be building it as a game, as a sort of service for the continual future.
Yeah, I would say...
And I'm sure there'll be a Motorsport, but sorry, not a Horizon, but I mean, I'm sure it will be a quality product when it does come out.
Yeah, but to see how it affects Game Pass, I don't think it would do that. Sorry.
So why is Call of Duty important for Game Pass? Well, duh. Who wants to? Have you looked at the prices of Call of Duty games on either of the stores? They're extortionate. Of course, I'm going to pay £15 and for a month's worth of Game Pass because you can probably play the entire Call of Duty franchise in a month because they're only about 6 to 10 hours long.
Yeah, finish one per day.
Yeah, so
you might hurt yourself doing that.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it would be a
your trigger finger is really gonna hurt.
But in terms of them changing what the formula of the franchise had turned into, Microsoft aren't going to do a damn thing.
No.
Because if you can make $1 billion a year just from microtransactions, just from Warzone, you need that to recoup their expenditure from buying Activision Blizzard King.
Also, you would look at it like, why did you buy them? You bought them because of the way they are now, not the way they could be later, right? Like, not what you could do to them. You bought them because of what they're doing at this moment. They're making a shit ton of money. It's a company that's, in trouble, like, perceptively because of the morally. And so, like, is willing to be sold very quickly. Like, to be honest, if it wasn't in this moral issue, this company would not be for sale. So, like, of course you're going to buy them and not change a damn thing. Like, why? I wouldn't. If this making me a shit ton of money, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I just feel as though Call of Duty doesn't deserve the level of passion and reverence that it gets.
Yep.
You see, that's the thing. I am one of those people because I loved all of the games. Well, I mean, I liked Call of Duty 1 to 3, but where my love affair with it really started was with 4 and the first Modern Warfare, and then the Black Ops games up until 2. And then once Call of Duty Ghosts came out, that's when things started going every which way in terms of quality. Because, it says something that to me, when I originally played Modern Warfare 2, I originally thought that game was highly overrated, had very poor design choices, and wasn't nearly as good as people thought it was. I mean, I've changed my tune since then because, quite frankly, what I have to compare to it now is quite a different kind of thing. But I feel like one of the things that keeps people sort of rooting for the franchise to succeed is with every entry they give you a little bit of something that you loved initially. So it's something that that reminds you.
Went back?
Oh God! I mean, no, don't talk about
the worst multiplayer map in history, but everyone seems to love it.
They
love it because it helps them level up their guns.
I know,
fast.
And this goes back to the point: is that Call of Duty used to be a game, now it's a hamster wheel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. But occasionally it does show flashes of what made it great.
Yeah, $1 billion a year.
I mean, to be honest,
these games made for fuck all.
I mean, to be honest, this is what happened to Assassin's Creed. Like I can make a comparison of the two. And I think the problem is that because they want this to come out annually, they have a rotation of developers making the game, and it feels like there's no consistency. Yeah, because I remember in the past, it's always like, oh, Sledgehammer's working. This is the good one. Sledgehammer worked on this one. Or Infinity War worked on this one. This one's the good one. And it's like, well, why aren't they all good? Why is it that, and everyone starts to have their own, here's the other element. Like, there's always like, well, some people have their cup of tea. They love the Infinity War ones, but they only like the Sledgehammer ones. And so like that also contributes to this cycle, because they may not buy the one next year, but they will buy the one the following year because that one's made by their favorite one, right? So like I could say the same thing with Assassin's Creed. Like it ran into that same issue where it's like, oh, this is the main team. Nope, this is a secondary team. Oh, wait, that one's made by, Odyssey. You don't like Odyssey, but you're going to like Ragnarok. Was it Ragnar? Valhalla, because that one's made by the core team. That one's made by the Odyssey team. Like it's this chaos of like trying to keep a franchise going yearly is killing its quality and consistency. And the things I loved Assassin's Creed for, mainly for me, like I love the original Assassin's Creed for its interesting plot through where people hated it, but I actually thought it was interesting, of the modern day built in with the past, became all of a sudden not being able to like work anymore because you got too many studios making their own version of it at the same time, and all of a sudden the story made no sense.
So cool.
Narrative direction.
Wrapping this up neatly. Bo, is
come on, Liam, bow it.
Oh, sorry.
We both bowed it. You gotta...
Oh, I'm not very good at time knots. Wait.
The greatest trick. Thanks, Liam. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. I think the greatest trick that Activision Blizzard have ever pulled is convincing people to buy Call of Duty every year.
Like embarrassing.
I'm not saying
that Bobby Kotick is the devil, Keith.
I didn't say it.
I may have implied it.
I'm also not saying that I didn't say it.
He also said golden parachutes are for twats, but who knows who that's for.
I think consistently they have been.
And on that note,
Bobby Kotick is a distant cousin.
So do you guys think he'll disappear from the games industry once he's done with Activision? Or do you think he'll jump back in somewhere?